What's up, everybody? I'm Finn McKenty. This is the Punk Rock MBA, and today we're going to talk about how TikTok has changed music, both for better and in some ways for the worse. And we need to talk about this because whether you like it or not, the fact of the matter is that when it comes to music marketing, there is nothing more powerful than TikTok. It has over 1 billion users, and 75% of those users say that they discover new artists through the platform. That means over 750 million people all over the planet who are hungry for new music. And all an artist really needs to do to get that big breakthrough that everybody's looking for is make the right 15-second video on their phone, and like literally overnight, they could be the next big thing, which is amazing, right? Well, yes, but also no, because as much as TikTok is an incredible opportunity for artists, it also puts a lot of pressure on artists in ways that probably aren't great. The biggest one being that it's kind of reducing songs down to 5 or 6 second sound bites and putting a lot of artists in a position where they feel like if they don't invest a lot of their time and energy in making TikToks, that their career is doomed. Or at least that's what some people are saying, most notably Halsey and Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park, among others. But is that really true? Or is there more to it than that? Did TikTok really ruin music? Or is this just another case of entitled artists complaining? Those are the questions that I will answer in this video. And also, thanks to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. I've been working with these guys for something like 3 years now. And since then, like, so much has changed for me and my channel. Like, wow, my edits were so bad back then. And I gotta say, I really appreciate their support. What I personally like about the game is how detailed you can get with equipping your champions. And there is a ton happening in Raid this month, including an entirely new event for the summer solstice, which is called the Path of Light. And also there's some very cool new champions and a set of skins for the amazing Trunda Gilt Mallet. Also, Raid is currently running a special Deliana Chase event where you can get your hands on the amazing Deliana. All you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and July 20th, and you will get Deliana for free. That's it. And if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on the screen, you will get unique bonuses worth $30. A free epic champion called Tyrell, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard. And all this treasure will be waiting for you right here. And all new players, listen up. Once you're in game, just enter promo code MyDeliana to get your hands on everything. Simple. Get 50 XP brews to instantly get your legendary hero Deliana to max level 50, as well as a ton of silver. Now, before I get into all that, first, let me set the stage about why we're even talking about TikTok at all, and just kind of explain exactly how much of an impact TikTok has had on music. So on the one hand, the idea of artists being discovered on social media is nothing new. For example, Justin Bieber, who obviously is one of the biggest stars of the past generation of music, was discovered on YouTube back in 2007 when his mom uploaded some videos of him in a singing contest. Scooter Braun saw that, became his manager, and the rest is history. Soulja Boy is another example who is even earlier than that, as he loves to tell you he was the first rapper on YouTube, and he's not wrong. He uploaded his first video in 2006 and then blew up in 2007 with his big breakthrough song Crank That.
Hey, what's up, man? This is Soulja Boy, you know what I'm saying? I think this is a game, but this ain't no game, you know what I'm saying?
And of course, on the emo, alternative, metal side of things, MySpace created a whole generation of bands in the late 2000s, like Asking Alexandria of Mice and Men, Hollywood Undead, and Bring Me the Horizon, among many, many others, all of which are still going strong today, sold millions of records, hit the Billboard Top 10, and all of that was thanks to MySpace. But compared to all of that, TikTok really is on another level. Back in 2020, TikTok themselves reported that the platform had created 90 songs that hit the Billboard Top 100, 5 #1 hits, and 70 artists who ended up getting signed to major labels. And the artists we're talking about here are not just one-hit wonders, although there are plenty of those, which I'll talk about later. These are like legit artists who are doing big things outside of TikTok. For example, Olivia Rodrigo's song Driver's License, which blew up on TikTok last year and ended up becoming the biggest debut song ever in the streaming era. And in her case, you could maybe argue that it's not 100% organic because she did come from like the Disney ecosystem. She was on High School, the musical, the TV show, or whatever it was. But as far as I'm aware, in the case of another big star who came up on TikTok, Lil Nas X, it was entirely organic. He had been grinding for years. He originally kind of got his start in the social media world running a Nicki Minaj stan account on Twitter, but he really blew up after Old Town Road was used in a popular challenge, and he's become one of this generation's most interesting artists with 5 Billboard Top 10 songs since 2018. Kind of proving that he was more than just a TikTok one-hit wonder. And there are tons and tons more stories like that on a smaller scale, of course, but still, like I said, TikTok is churning out a lot of artists who are going on to have like legitimate careers any way you want to look at it. And so, of course, everyone in the industry is seeing that and trying to be that next person to ride the TikTok wave, which of course is totally understandable. Like, you'd be kind of stupid not to do that. But the second and third order effects of that sort of race to be the next big thing on TikTok are not always good. The first and most obvious example of that is the effect that TikTok has on how artists write music. Meaning that in a world where TikTok hype is pretty much everything as far as breaking through and getting attention, there's a kind of sense, which I think is justified and probably accurate, that nothing in the song really matters other than whatever little snippet of it ends up getting used in TikToks, which is usually, 5 or 10 seconds out of a 2, 3, 4 minute song. For example, when Bring Me the Horizon went kind of viral last year with Can You Feel My Heart, with that weird trend of girls using it to like jump on their bed and stuff.
Can you fix a broken? Can you feel my...
On the one hand, of course, it is cool that they got a bump from the sort of viral trend of that song. That certainly helped them out and helped new people discover their music that otherwise wouldn't have heard it. On the other hand, if you're the kind of person who believes in like the value of the song as a whole, of storytelling and giving the song room to breathe and evolve over the course of a few minutes, if you see things that way, which I think is an entirely valid point of view, then it's kind of a bummer to see a song reduced to just these 10 seconds, right? And this is exacerbating a larger trend where before it was about albums, now it's about singles. Now even the song itself doesn't matter. It's really just about these little snippets. Another example of that from like the metal and alternative world is Lorna Shore and their song To the Hellfire, which is 6 minutes long with a lot of kind of intricate arrangement details and all these cool like symphonic elements. But on TikTok, it's just reduced to a few seconds of the song, specifically the breakdown towards the end, which ended up getting used in like millions and millions of TikToks. And don't get me wrong, that is a sick breakdown. I totally understand why people went crazy for it, but I would argue that's kind of the least interesting part of the song. And so in a sense, it's kind of a bummer to see that that's what people picked up. So I'm not really willing to say that writing good songs no longer matters in the world of TikTok, but I think there is some truth to that, because at least when it comes to getting that sort of breakthrough moment that so many small artists are looking for, it's kind of true that all that really matters is that one TikTok worthy snippet of the song. Most people will never even hear the rest of it. And you might say, well, it's not TikTok's fault that that's what the audience latches onto, and I think that's true. But at the same time, I think part of it is due to the nature of the TikTok platform itself. Because although the app is huge for music discovery, as I talked about, remember that first and foremost, it is a video sharing app. So when you look at the songs that end up trending, they do tend to be the ones that lend themselves to some sort of a big visual moment, which oftentimes means lyrics that are kind of dumb and memey. For example, We Not Humping by Flo Milli. And on the one hand, I'm inclined to just sort of shrug and say, well, that's what the people want. You can't argue with that. On the other hand, you do sort of wonder if something has been lost. Like, it's hard to imagine a lot of songs from the past, for example, like Jeremy by Pearl Jam, which was a massive hit when I was in high school. It's hard to imagine that succeeding in a TikTok world, right? Not because it's a bad song, but just because there's nothing about it that would lend itself to the format of TikTok. It's very dark and brooding. There's really no like clever meme part that you could dance to or do some sort of a visual pun to. And so you wonder, would a song like that just kind of die on the vine if it came out today? And so the net effect of all of that is that artists understand everything that I just said in extreme detail. And so because of that, they're increasingly writing songs specifically with TikTok in mind. In the back of their head, always thinking like, how can I create one of these viral hooks that'll go big on TikTok? Because they instinctively at this point understand that that's kind of all that matters. But as tempting as it is for me to say that this is a new thing and that that's all TikTok's fault, I'm not really sure that either of those things are true. I think we may be looking at the past with rose-colored glasses and forgetting that pop music has always been like this. As a couple random examples of songs from 10 or 20 years ago, think of like Britney Spears' Hit Me Baby One More Time, or I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry, or any of the rap songs about a dance like Lean With It, Rock With It, or Teach Me How to Dougie. If TikTok existed when those songs came out, those all would have been TikTok songs, right? Like as I'm saying that, you can probably picture those TikToks in your head, right? And as far as these like kind of empty songs that are all built around some dumb viral hook, well, just think of any of the 9 million flash in the pan songs where everybody knows the hook and the chorus, but probably nothing else in the song. For example, like Who Let the Dogs Out. This has always been a driving factor in terms of like pop, and it's actually kind of even true in metal too. For example, Suicidal Tendencies song Institutionalized, which is a very early example of what I guess you could call like a meme metal song, which as far as I'm aware is to this day the most played hardcore song of all time.
All I wanted was a Pepsi, just one Pepsi, and she would give it to me, just a Pepsi.
Now, I do think that social media in general and TikTok in particular has probably exaggerated this trend and made our attention spans even worse than they already were. But I don't think it's fair or accurate to say that TikTok created this by any means. But again, we can't ignore the sort of unique aspects of the platform in particular, and one of those is that it has made looks more important than ever. Now, of course, being attractive has always been an asset in the entertainment industry, certainly since the advent of TV. I mean, look at the Beatles and Elvis as obvious examples of that. But with TikTok, again, it's on another level. If you've used the app at all, it is obvious that the platform clearly favors good-looking people. As far as I'm aware, it hasn't been confirmed that this is like happening on purpose, but there are a lot of people that believe that's true, that this is like an official TikTok policy with their moderators. And knowing how China operates, and remember, it is a Chinese app, as many people forget, I'm kind of inclined to think that it probably is true. But either way, whether this is like a deliberate thing that the platform is doing or not, the fact of the matter is that pretty people do have an advantage on TikTok. Everybody knows this. For example, let's take the pop punk artist Jaden, who first blew up as a TikToker, and by the way, I actually think does make good music. But it definitely doesn't hurt that he is also just absolutely disgustingly good looking. And you have to wonder, would he have had this much success as an artist if he was ugly? And if the answer to that question is no, does that mean that the people who didn't win the genetic lottery, who weren't born good looking, can't be artists? That the only role that they could have in the music industry is being relegated to some sort of behind the scenes kind of role? If so, that really doesn't feel good, does it? Like, we shouldn't want a world in which the only people who can be musicians are also freakishly good looking. At least I don't think so. There's also the increasing trend of these like fake engineered viral moments, with one of the more interesting examples of that being the Gayle song abcdefu, which blew up on TikTok and then went on to go to #1 in over 13 countries. And let's look at exactly what happened with that. The story is that Gayle posted a TikTok asking for songwriting challenges. Then she got a reply from somebody named Nancy Berman challenging her to make a breakup song based on the alphabet. And then she posted this in response to the challenge.
A, B, C, D, E, F, U, and your mom, and your sister, and your job, and
that TikTok quickly took off. Then she released the full song, which got used in millions of TikToks, and that was the start of her amazing rise to fame. And there's a couple things that I want to point out here. Like, notice that the original reply is just her with an acoustic guitar singing into her phone, which kind of implies that this is just like a loose, off-the-cuff response to the original comment, which would be an amazing display of her songwriting talent if it was actually real.
But if we look at the comment, we'll see see this account name. And if we go to this account name, we'll see it's private. But if we look her up on Google, we see her on LinkedIn. In fact, we see her as a digital marketing manager at Atlantic Records. And if we look up Gayle, we'll see that she's actually on Atlantic Records.
Yep. Apparently, it was all just a marketing campaign from her label. And that is just one example that happened to get pointed out and called attention to, but I'm sure that there are tons and tons more that we don't even know about. Now, of course, publicity stunts in the world of music are nothing new. For example, we just celebrated the 40th anniversary of Ozzy biting the head off a bat on stage, which was obviously a calculated move on their part to drive media coverage of him as this awful satanic menace that bites the head off of bats, which freaked out parents and would make kids love him. And so in that sense, this stuff is nothing new.
Seated by his infamy.
I looked, evidently threw an unconscious bat on the stage, and he thought it was a rubber bat, whatever, and he picked it up and bit the head off.
And Shannon's going, "Dummy, it's real." I'm like, what?
But I do think that it's fair to say that, again, the specific nature of TikTok as a platform is creating even more pressure to come up with these viral moments, because with so many people creating so much content all the time, it kind of feels like the only way to cut through the noise of the platform and get noticed is to do one of these big viral stunts. A lot of artists are starting to talk about this. One of the big examples most recently was from Halsey, who ironically talked about it on TikTok. And she basically claimed that her label was holding her new song hostage and wouldn't release it until they could come up with some sort of viral moment around it to promote it. I don't know what the conversation was between her and her label. That could totally be the case. But at the same time, you also have to wonder how many of these moments where the artist claims that their label is holding them hostage are themselves contrived marketing plans where the artist and the label have agreed to create this like fake beef with each other, knowing that fans will always take the artist's side and hopefully blow the song up on TikTok to supposedly spite the label.
Welcome to Dulux, such a perfect town.
Like, that's the point where we're at. Like, nobody has any idea what is even real and what is some sort of phony marketing campaign. Everything just feels fake, right? But still, regardless, even if some of this stuff is contrived, I think the larger point does stand. Clearly, artists are being pressured to become content creators as much as they are musicians. Mike Shinoda of Linkin Park had a tweet about this, which I think describes the way a lot of artists feel. I'm tired of hearing musicians be told that they're not investing enough energy in social media content. Every artist I talk to right now has this feeling. They say they're spending way too much time making little videos to support their careers, but wish they could spend more time making and playing music. How is a young artist expected to put in enough time to get great at their craft when they need to feed all these content channels? The time they spend generating mind-numbing quote-unquote content might have been at the expense of the best song they never wrote. And on the one hand, I get it. He is right that there's a ton of pressure for artists to be content creators as much as they are musicians, and it is tough to be good at both of those things. And of course, a lot of those musicians probably would rather just focus all their energy on their music. I mean, after all, that is why they are musicians, right? But this balancing act of balancing creating your art versus promoting that art, this has always been a struggle for artists, especially in the social media era since MySpace. But I do think it's fair to say that TikTok has tipped that balance even further in favor of the promotion side, to the point where now it feels like the music sometimes hardly even matters. Like, successful artists now are influencers first and musicians second. And a lot of labels are seeing things the same way. They're looking for people who first and foremost have a good social media following and not so much focusing on whether their music is good or not. Which of course is super frustrating to all the people out there who are great musicians, but maybe aren't great at social media. And they're like, what happened? I thought this was the music industry. So I do understand that, but at the same time, I'm also not that sympathetic, because a lot of musicians forget that this has never been the music business. It has always been the entertainment business. It's not just about the music, and it never has been. Going back to like at least the 50s, which is when like TV started to become what it is today, artists have always always had to do the press circuit of all the TV shows, the radio stations, the magazine interviews, photo shoots and videos, and all that kind of stuff. And I know that that's exhausting because I've done plenty of press myself, but that is the job. Unless you want to be one of those faceless hired guns who shows up to play bass in Kelly Clarkson's backing band or whatever. And no shade to those people, I just know that that's not necessarily what most musicians are looking for. Unless you want to be one of those people, well, you need to put yourself out there and build a following. Like it or not, that is the job. It's to be an entertainer, not just a guitar operator. And so to me, TikTok really is an amazing opportunity because anyone, anywhere can get millions and millions of eyeballs and ears on their music just by making videos on the phone that they already own in their bedroom. A good example of this in the rock side of things is Jarvis Johnson. He got big on TikTok back in 2020 with his song Damn and doing covers of rock artists like Papa Roach and Trapped. Now he's signed to 300, the same label as Gunna and Megan Thee Stallion. He went on tour with Falling in Reverse. He's playing all the big summer festivals. And all of that started with TikTok.
Headstrong, we're headstrong. Super headstrong, can't break me. And even Stone Cold can't take me.
So knowing all of that, if you don't want to make TikToks, that is totally fine. I get it. It's not for everyone. But if you're not going to make TikToks, then you can't really complain that your music isn't getting attention. If you are choosing not to participate in the platform where you know that 750 million people are out there using it to discover new music, especially knowing that there are other artists who are doing that. And it's especially hard for me to feel sorry for artists who complain about making TikToks when you think about all the shit that people who have real jobs have to deal with, like working on an oil rig or food service. You know, my dad was a corrections officer, or teachers dealing with these crazy parents. So when I think about it that way, it's just like, sorry if I don't feel sorry for a musician who doesn't want to make a few TikToks to promote their music when there's someone out there right now doing roofing in the hot summer heat without thousands of people cheering them on. Now, with all of that being said, I do think there are some pretty legitimate complaints. For example, there is the matter of royalties on TikTok, which, to be blunt, are not great. Roughly speaking, if 10,000 people use your song in a video, you're gonna make around $300, which kind of sucks. Yes, you get some exposure and there's definitely value in exposure, but that only takes you so far. Like, exposure has to turn into money at some point, right? You can't pay rent with exposure. And so far, at least, that is not really happening on TikTok, although hopefully that will change. And so to sum it all up, I don't think that TikTok created any of these trends because almost all of them have been around since the advent of TV, or at the very least since MySpace. And it's easy to think that there was some like mythical past where only great artists got popular with brilliant music that really meant something and was this grand artistic statement, and audiences didn't reward these gimmicky, shallow songs by pretty faces. But honestly, that is just not true. That past never existed. Like, even in 1992, the year that grunge exploded when I was in 9th grade, remember this. You know who charted higher than Nirvana, the band that we all sort of remember as symbolizing the early 90s? Criss Cross, Right Said Fred, and Billy Ray Cyrus. Those are the artists that really topped the charts in 1992. But I do think it's fair to say that TikTok exaggerated or accelerated a lot of these arguably negative trends, because the platform really kind of does encourage us to be the worst versions of ourselves. Shallow people with short attention spans who just want to look at pretty faces and gorge ourselves on the musical equivalent of fast food. But to answer the question in the title of this video, did TikTok really truly ruin music? I would say no, because for everything wrong with the platform, at the end of the day, I think the good really does outweigh the bad. Because the hardest thing for creators of any kind is being discovered, right? And I would say that TikTok has done more for music discovery than anything else in the past 10 years, maybe since MySpace. So for me personally, my advice is that I would encourage artists to look at TikTok as an opportunity rather than focusing on the negatives. All right, my friends, that does it for this video. As always, let me know what you think in the comments. And I would like to thank everyone who supports me on Patreon, especially those of you who support at the True Cult level level or above. Patrons get all my podcasts a week early. I do giveaways, I do some other stuff, and I also review your music. If you want me to review something live on Twitch, every month I do a call for submissions. Just drop your music in the comments of that post, then I will review it live on Twitch and post it on Patreon for everyone else to see. So if that sounds cool, check it out at the link in the description of this video. And with that, I will sign off for now, but I will see you next time.